I was born in Puerto Rico with three brothers, and all of us were raised by our mom and dad. And at one point, my mom, my dad, and my three brothers moved to New York City, leaving me there with my grandmother and my grandfather. But the island and the experience of the island, the way I like to kind of say it was kind of like I felt like Mowgli in the Jungle Book. Because I pretty much, would climb trees and mango trees and all this and that, and it was sort of part of my life. And nature was pretty much a very important part of who I was, on the island. And so when I had to move to New York, it was kind of bittersweet, because I loved the island, I loved my grandparents. But at that point, my mom and my father had sent for me. They said, okay, Joe should come to New York. My main obstacle was definitely language and culture, really assimilating into American culture and not knowing language. And I think those two things really made me feel like inadequate. Try to getting around the culture and finding acceptance, within your peers, especially as a young kid. Kids can be cruel, and kids would really make fun of me or ridicule me because I couldn't speak English well, and that was really jarring for me. And then once I was able to assimilate and became articulate and be able to speak the language, then I felt a sense of confidence that I didn't have before. But I never let go of my Latin roots, and that was one of the main things. I made sure I kept up the language. I wanted to be able to speak fluently Spanish, read, write it, etc. And of course, hopefully pass this on to my kids. But by the time I got to high school, I was very balanced. I felt very, secured in myself, who I was, etc. I always pushed the Latino envelope. And at one point, I changed my name to Joe because I was embarrassed of José. And it was a really turning point in my life. And it was my high school coach, a gymnastics teacher, that said, why do you call yourself Joe? Isn't your name José, And I said, yeah, I just find it difficult for people to pronounce it right, because they say Jose, and it's not, in English, Jose is Joseph. So when somebody says Jose with an A, it's actually not spelled, pronounced that way. It's pronounced Jose. So when people say Jose, you're like, if you're gonna say it wrong, just call me Jose or Joe, or Joseph or what have you. And it never stuck, it just, people just call you Jose, and that's what it is. So the jokes I got, again, kids in high school are horrible, but Jose, can you see the Star Spangled Banner? And they were like, okay, that's funny, right? And it got old real quick. And I got to fist fights over this stuff, and but it was interesting altogether. In the middle of all this, I discovered martial arts, and martial arts is pretty much what shaped the rest of my life. Until this very day, it is so prevalent in my life. One particular art that stood out among all of them was something called Tai Chi, and most people that understand Tai Chi always understood it as kind of a meditation, very slow, very beautiful art. But what I was really interested and intrigued by was the slow stuff, because that looked so mysterious to me. And my teacher would smile, and he goes, oh, you don't want to learn this? And I was like, oh, yeah, I want to learn it. And he goes, are you sure you want to learn this? And I go, yeah, I want to learn this. So when 2004 came about, I chose to, really just clean my hands to the whole theater, and retired from theater and went to film school at New York Film Academy for like a one-year course on digital filmmaking. In that, I was able to form a company called Dark Raven Productions, and it was like me trying to do martial arts films, because I've always loved martial arts films. I said, well, theater is a step away from film. And I said, well, why don't I just do film? And that's what I've been working on thus far. What I'm hoping that I'm going to bring to Minnesota is some interesting art. I think art that's very multicultural and that's very diversified, and I think not that that's a lacking thing in Minnesota, but definitely the demographic is more Caucasian, and as someone, as a person of color and a person who comes from another country, or not a country, but another, from an island, I guess, I think that the bringing everyone of Minnesota descent to understand the different cultures through the art of movies, and try to find a way that within the context of the stories they learn a little bit more about different cultures.